Okay, here we go. Premier League video predictions 26-27. The last of the series. We've gone through League Two, we've gone through League One, we went through Championship, and now we're on to the big guys, the big guns. And it should be an exciting season. Arsenal champions last year. What will this year have in store for us? So looking back on last time's bets, the 25-26 season, I was quite keen on Chelsea, and then they got rid of their manager and started going through some real crazy times with Liam Rossini and things, and it all went a bit wrong for them. I was quite keen then for, I think, handicap top twos and things. So it didn't quite work out for them, but we did have Brighton and Bournemouth top half. Very keen on those. They came off. West Ham and Burnley to go down was in the mix there. I think you had Wolves in 17th. I think they the other team went down. So it was a really good season on the relegation bet, especially West Ham 11-2 to go down. That was one of the best bets of the season. So we did well there. And now we roll on to the 26-27 variety. So this season we're going to run it from 20th to 1st, which is going to take in a little description, a little chat on each team and what I think is going to happen with each of them, and then some good bets, best bets, some possible bets along the way, and then we'll finish with some top goal scorers and handicaps at the end. So without further ado, we're going to look at the 20th place team, which is Hull City. I don't really know how they got here. I predicted them to go down from the Championship last year, and they managed to find a way to get themselves promoted, all just about. I think on the stats they weren't particularly good on the stats, and they really outperformed what they got the XG of last year. So they were what they actually achieved in chances created. They made the most of everything. So well done to Jakirovic. Okay, I've butchered that one. He has done brilliant coming in to Hull and doing the job he's done, getting them up, fair play. But yeah, they've had a few good signings. Senegal defender Noble Mendy has signed in a record fee 22 million. They've got Joe Gelhardt back after a loan last year. He scored 15 goals for them last year, so that's a good one for them. And quite a few other good signs include Olympiacos goalkeeper, who's got 64 clean sheets in 134 matches. So it brought some experienced players also. So they're going to give it a good shot. But yeah, for me, 20th position for Hull. And so for a bet for Hull City, I have gone for to finish bottom, even money. I think that's a good price, and I think it's worth putting in multis. So in 19th place, I've gone for another one of the new boys, Ipswich Town. I backed these for last year for winning the division. They just missed out on that, coming second. That was with McKenna at the helm, and now they've gone for Gary O'Neill to take over. I just don't think that's good enough as a level of manager for this challenge. So they're trying their best to get into the market and strengthen. When they get strengthened, they have a good team. They had previously come down the Premier League, so they have that advantage. They went down quite easily out of the Premier League previously, so it's not like they were very close to surviving that time. And I don't see much about them that makes me think that this time either. I like Ipswich Town as a club. I hope they do well, but I do think they'll come 19th, and they get a shade of odds on about them to get relegated. I'm not going to necessarily do that bet, but that seems a fair price to me, and something you can put in accumulators also. Okay, then we come on to, have I put Coventry into the mix in the relegation places? A lot of punters are going for that. 3 teams that come up are going to go back down kind of idea in their bets, which you get, I think, 4-1 for. For me, I'm not going to put them there. I'm going to put Crystal Palace in 18th. I felt that Crystal Palace had been punching for a while. If it wasn't for Glasnow, I would have looked at them in previous seasons for relegation. I think he makes them a better team, and now he's gone. And in comes Pierre Sage from France, who's been successful. He's done well. He's been with Lyon, I think, and then Lens. And in this recent season for Lens, he won the French Cup and came second in the French league. I feel that They've lost their main centre-back, Lacroix. They lost last year, Eze. They've lost Elise previously, the star player there. But Mateta talks about going. You wonder if Sarr will stay. Adam Wharton, there's a lot of rumors he might go. So all their big players could leave. I feel they'll struggle. New manager, new style. Got to take a lot to be up there with Glasner. He's particularly good. So yeah, for me, I think it's a great bet. I'm going to put it out as one of my best bets at 6-1, a bit like the West Ham bet last year. 6-1 Palace to get relegated. I'd like to know what you think, what your bottom three is. And of course, before I actually mention my 17th place team, one thing I said about Palace, they've also got European football to contend with, which is going to be something. They won the Conference League last year, Europa Conference League. It was a hell of an achievement. I mean, another thing Glasner has done for them. We'll get on to Forest in a bit, obviously where he's gone. But yes, next team in 17th I've put, who've also got a European football to worry about. Again, another reason why I put them here almost. They've made no more new signings. Now, they did make a lot of like signings last year. They did have a drop off for the African Nations Cup, and that is Sunderland. Sunderland in 17th, so just about staying up. And yeah, I think the European football side of it will make them struggle a bit. They were pretty bad on the stats and probably were a worse team on what they did, and just managed to obviously sneak goals and win games by a goal and find a way in matches. And they were brilliant, and they really outplayed what most people thought they were going to do. So fair play to them. Manager seems pretty good down there too. Good team camaraderie. Fan base is very much behind them. But 17th place for Sunderland. I think they'll just about stay up, I believe. Okay, 16th place. I've gone for Fulham. See, a lot of people put them up for relegation. These lot. It's a club I really like. It's not so far from where I live. And yeah, they're a club that's run well. It's always got a great atmosphere there. A nice atmosphere, I should say, as well. You don't feel like you're going to get attacked when you go Fulham. But on their footballing ability, I feel that they've been doing really well under the old manager, Silva. And obviously he's left. A bit like Glasner, that might have a detrimental effect from them. They finished 11th that last season, and they had Harry Wilson and they had Raul playing then. And then that combo moved on, and they were contributing a lot of goals for Fulham last year. I think it was at least half, if not more, of the goals came from them too. So they've got that to make up. That's going to be tough. So they will be struggling. And they've got Alvaro Arbeloa, who previously played, I think, in Liverpool and West Ham, and he's been in Real Madrid. He had a few months from January to see how he did with them. He wasn't too bad, but they did lose 8 games in that time. I think 116. Yeah. Who knows how good he is? But yeah, they got the goals replaced. They had brought in a striker from 2 players from Real Madrid. One being the forward Gonzalo Garcia for £35 million coming to Fulham. And he did manage 25 goals for the B team previously, which is a record apparently, or a record. Yeah, I think it's a record. Yeah, all-time record it was for that effort. Very good. So that'll help them, I'm sure. And they've also got Shea Charles for 30 million from Southampton. Very highly talked about Northern Ireland player. There's made some really good comments about him and how good he'll be. He's young and he's ready to go, and will help Fulham survive this year, I believe. So yeah, 16th for Fulham. Okay, then we move on to Coventry. So I've gone for 15th for Coventry, and probably comes into the fact that I think also they're a pretty good bet to stay up. I think they're going to clearly stay up personally by a few teams. So they're 6-5 to stay up. So I think that's a good bet again. In probably in multis, they were the class team in the promoted sides. Just got a bit nervous towards the end and fell away a little bit at times. But then they kicked on again at the end, which I quite liked. Obviously, Frank Lampard. Kind of for the moment, I think he's found his level, a team that he can do well with the Championship, bring up into the Premier League, and I think do well in the Premier League. and he needs to just develop his career from there. I think he's a very good manager, actually. I think he just jumped into bigger jobs too quickly, so I think this is right for him, and I think he'll prove that this season. They bought a Danish superstar called Caleb Yerenki. He apparently did lots and lots of chat about him being the star, a new star player coming through, best player in the Danish league, albeit the Danish league probably isn't as high standard as other leagues, but ultimately the best of them. Just like Yerenki, he was signed for about 23 million. There's been a few players in a 20 million mark they've signed up. They managed to get Carl Rushworth from Brighton Hove Albion as a goalkeeper. I really like him. They've got a player from Burnley, Choana, and also Awanyini from Forest, who scores goals, critical goals at the right times, and won games for Forest, coming off the bench quite often. So I think Forest maybe shouldn't have let him go, but they have, and Forest and Coventry are going to benefit from him. They've got a really good strike force and a really good, nice attacking team, Coventry. They can score goals plenty. So I think for that reason, and with some of the additions that add in the mix for experience, I think they've got enough about them to stay up this year and do fairly well. So 15th for Coventry. Okay, and in 14th, I've gone for Bournemouth. Brilliant. So far, their last few years in the Premier League, they've survived way more than they even think they might. Very small ground. They can't get many into that ground, but they make the best of what they've got. And Areola is now gone to Liverpool, the manager, so that's definitely going to take them back a step, I think, for me. They've got European football to contend with. It's another thing to make it trickier this year. And I just feel, they've lost Senesi. They did already lose Semenyo. They might lose one or two others. So I feel like with all that to contend with, the new manager Marco Rose has done well in Germany and Austria for teams like Borussia Dortmund and Bayer Leverkusen and RB Leipzig. So he has got some good pedigree. But yeah, I just think they've got a lot on their plate, and they may just come a bit more down to position you'd expect from a team of their size this year and come 14th. Okay, and in 13th, pretty similar to finish to last year, I'm going for Everton. I like Everton, the football club, and the way they run it, and the new stadium they've got now, their history. David Moyes, I'm a big fan of him. So yeah, he signed pretty well this year. Nothing amazing. He's done Hayden Hackney, who's a really, really good player in the Championship, possibly the best player in the Championship. 24-year-old playmaking midfielder, skillful midfielder from Middlesbrough. He's bought Christian Norgov from Arsenal, who was excellent at Brentford. Didn't really get the chance at Arsenal to prove himself. That was a good signing, I thought. Clever signing. He's 32. And then you've got Brendan Johnson, and a swap deal has come this way. Didn't quite do it at Palace, but I feel like if he can just get some of his Tottenham form, he will do very well. And then you might get Jack Grealish back also. Don't think much has gone out that they're too worried about. So I think they're going to be. Basically, I'll tell you what I'd say at this point. From 13th and 9th, I've really struggled because I think you could argue a case to get any of those teams in any of those positions. Okay, another tricky one to decide where they're going to be. They could even get relegated, this team. That's that sort of moment in their history at the moment, I think, and that is Newcastle. They lost Eddie Howe. Obviously, Eddie Howe decided to go. He was doing brilliant with them, won the first cup. That's argument to say last year with the Champions League pressures and games they have to play in. That maybe took its toll, and they didn't do so well last year. They'd already had the whole thing of Isak leaving at the start of that year, which didn't do them any favours, I don't think. And then now this year, of course, they've lost Gamara as the captain. Tonali, they're a very, very good midfielder. They've lost Trippier, the regular right fullback. And who else they lose? Of course, Anthony Gordon to Barcelona, England international, and was really doing very well for them last year. They lack a bit up front. I don't really have a striker that you can say, he's going to get 20 goals for you. They're going to struggle a little bit up front. They need to replace the players they have. They've got a lot of new signings. They've got a new manager, Jason. I forget his name now. But he's come in from Saudi Arabia, bizarrely, but obviously that league's doing very well these days. He did well there, he did well in Austria, so he's got potential. He's a young guy, he's quite raved about, so it could be a good replacement. You just don't know. Nothing's sure with them. They have brought in some nice signings. Defensive midfielder Alaji Bamba for 20 odd million from Monaco, and probably the best signing it seems might be Sean Sturt, 18 from Ajax, 45 million. Forward-thinking central midfielder who has done well in pre-season, and lots of high hopes for him. I feel like maybe that's their development to maybe the year after being a better team, and that maybe they'll have their moments this year and you'll see them win games and be hard to predict. So maybe watch out for that. Don't maybe in your weekly accumulators. It might be a really dodgy team to put in. Yeah, and yeah, they'll do okay. They'll become 12th, and that's where I have them. Okay, in 11th, I've gone for Leeds United. I feel like they're having an improved year. They've got a good manager there. I think he's finally finding his feet in the Premier League. I've always thought he always comes across like he should be good. I don't know. Sometimes you get that feeling, don't you, about these managers? And that's the feeling he gives me. He's brought in really well this year. I think James Trafford. I really think he's a proper goalkeeper. You know, I think they paid him 40 million. They might have paid for him. Could be worth every penny. You know, you get a really good goalkeeper at a team like Leeds who are quite good at times and not conceding goals and being hard to break down. And that will just add to that, I think. So they'll be a hard team to beat. I think, as ever, Ellen Road's a fortress. And I'm sure they'll do pretty well there. Not enough to make a mark on the top 10. I think it's quite a thing, but I could have put them in the top 10. I was I'm an R in at one point with the two teams above them. And the other player they brought in was a great signing, Harry Wilson. I mean, that's a hell of a signing. That's a free signing as well. What Fulham are doing, letting him go down to no years in his contract. But in 10th, I've put Notts Forest. Okay, that's a big improvement for them, and that will come down a lot to two things. Oliver Glasson coming here from Palace, and after he's won the FA Cup and Europa Conference League for Palace, I feel that would be right up there. Some of the great achievements a manager has done in the Premier League recently with the team he had there, and I'm sure he'll get loads out of Forest. They're sort of on the edge team. You know, last year a lot of European games to have as well. A lot of manager changes, a lot of chop and change of styles. At least he's had the summer to get Forest ready for the new season, and as long as he doesn't get given the elbow, which I hope he doesn't, it'd be crazy if he does, and I think Forest will start to look at it as a relegation team if they start doing things like that. Good season for Forest, 10th for them. Okay, really interesting one next, I think. Brighton, 9th. Now Brighton, I love Brighton. That's what they've done at the club. There's another one of those clubs that you think, wow, how well you run. You know, you could argue, I think now they feel like a Premier League outfit, but you know, a few years ago you wouldn't dream that Brighton would be and then stay in the Premier League for a long period like they have. They've always known the next step. They've always been prepared. Well, if that player goes, we'll get this player. We're going to get this player in, or they might already have 2 or 3 of those players who are in their early 20s and they're going to be coming through anyway. They're already set, ready to go. The way they do it is just seamless, and every club in the Premier League should take a leaf out of their book. Then their young manager Fabian Hertzler, I think he's only like 33 maybe now. Still younger than probably one or two of the players. I think that's his age. Don't quote me on that. But he's certainly very young and great manager. I think up and coming. They really trust him. They're giving a new contract. They bought a lot of sort of players of an experienced age this time in that sort of 26, 27-year-old age bracket. A few centre backs, including Vuskovic, straight from Leeds, we mentioned a minute ago. Ever present for them. I thought it was a really good sign. I thought that's probably what Leeds probably wouldn't want that one to have left. And they bought a new Canadian international, scored 41 goals in 82 games in the Belgium Pro League. Got a funny name, Promise David. Seems like more like a comment than a name. But yeah, and then one or two other players as well thrown in there. Always looking to be good. Europa Conference League this year, which I think maybe actually that will be a bettable angle when the odds come out if they get through their preliminary rounds. But yeah, Brighton in 9th, a good solid 9th. Could have put them higher, could have put them lower, but ninth. Okay, one of the very interesting teams here, and that's Spurs in 8th. Now I must admit, only about a few days ago, I think I had them in, will they come for 6th? I just started thinking more and more about them. I thought, do you know what, they've come 17th the last 2 years. It's not like the manager, De Zerbi, who did really well with them last year when he came at the end to get them out of relegation. Brilliant manager, Brighton, did well in Europe since. Just feel they weren't doing well for a couple of years under different managers, and a lot of the players are still, I thought, well, they missed Maddison last year, but yeah, Maddison played the year before when they finished 17th, so he will be a great addition this year, and so will a lot of their signings, and of course they're going to be better, but maybe I just got a bit excited with the 5th or 6th positions I was thinking about putting them in, if I'm honest. So therefore, yeah, they bought £100 million player from Newcastle, Tonali, we mentioned earlier, Matthias Fernandes from West Ham, 85 million. Of course, they went down last year. Very, very creative, very pleasing on the eye sort of player. Could well be brilliant. He's a young guy. He's got plenty of time to improve, but we don't quite know about him yet. A lot of money. Tonali, 100 million. I thought that was a bit much for him. He's a good player. 100 million. I thought, oof, that's a lot of money for a player that level. Not sure. They brought in Andy Robertson from Liverpool. I think he's kind of on the way out a bit. So that was another one. I thought, actually, I don't know. In fact, it's a really good sign. He got rid of Jed Spence, who did really well in the World Cup, with a regular last year for Spurs at right back. So it's just a few bits and bobs that maybe wasn't so good. Okay, and then in 7th, I've put Aston Villa. So Aston Villa, the manager, Unai Emery, they need to keep him because he's getting them punching a little bit above where they'd be. Not to say they wouldn't be still doing pretty well. They have always had a good side, but I just feel he gets more out of them than most would. He's having to deal with obviously losing players every season, it feels. They do replace them with some good ones, and then those ones then become players that they might sell and so on. So they've got a bit of a Brighton Bournemouth element to them these days, with the fair play rules not really playing in their favour. And yeah, so they've got rid of obviously Morgan Rogers to Chelsea for 120 million, which is pretty good business, a lot of money, isn't it? They can invest that well, but he's an in and out, very good player. When he's good, he's really good. And then you've got Tielemans, who's 29, and a proper absolute regular captain of Belgium. He's gone to Manchester United, which of course I'm happy about. And they've lost Lucas Digne, and they have now lost Konza, the England centre back. Yes, and they bought this player Monzabi. He's a young Swiss player for 59 million, a lot of money, from FC Freiburg. He scored lots of goals last year for them and in midfield, and then he's already got 4 games at the World Cup for Switzerland. He scored 3 and assisted for 2, and that's a pretty good return. And there's a lot of good chat about him, so he may well come in there and make up for someone like Morgan Rogers going. They've got the Champions League to contend with, so there'll be lots of games for them. They will be in the market for some other players. They have bought one or two others as well. I've got there Brian Maggio last year and João Gomez from Wolves. So young players coming through again there. It's a bit like Newcastle signings. They're going to be partially ready for this season and they'll do well, but they're up and coming ones that could really kick on for them in the following years, I think. Now we get to the juicy stuff. Okay, in 6th place, I've gone for Brentford. Okay, this is my real big cool one. Really like them. Another club. They're in that Brighton and Bournemouth mould. Generally a selling club as such. Obviously sold Mbemo last year, but then you get a player like Thiago in. I forgot what names are gone a bit, but they've got some really nice players that play for them. 1 or 2 wide players I really like. They've got a solid back line. They're very, very, very hard team to play against. They play sort of gung-ho against you. They're very much direct football, corners, set pieces, throw-ins, long throwing merchants. They know what they're doing. They're very well organised. And fair to face it, Keith Andrews, who took over last year, no one thought he was going to be any good. I mean, I think I put right near the bottom. Not the bottom three, but I thought they would struggle, and they were very good for most of the way, and then just faded at the end. And in some ways lucky, because I think in Europe, I think that's one of the key things. Now, one player they bought, and I heard a bit about, was Mamadou Sangor for 45 million from Lens. Finished second. They finished second in the league, and he sounds like a box-to-box midfielder that a lot of big European clubs actually wanted, and somehow Brentford managed to nab him. He sounds positive. He's really keen and ready to go, and he likes everything about Brentford and what they stand for. But one or two other interesting players in Jaden Anthony and Schuster from RB Salzburg. And Callum Wilson on free. That was a really good addition, with Thiago being the main man, and then Wilson will be happy to be on the bench coming on. So I really like them. I think they'll have a great year without the European football to worry about. I've gone bold, I've gone sixth. Top 6 bet would be 7-1. That's certainly worth a few quid. But the best bet of all, I think, is the top half bet. I just think I love that. Top half. It's 11-8, and in accumulators and things, stick it in there. I think it's going to happen. Okay, well, I love my top 5 in the sense I'm very confident about the top 5. I think I've gone roughly in the right order. Maybe a little bit of moving around might happen, but in 5th place I've put Liverpool. So I haven't put it there just because I'm a Man United fan. I think last year I put Liverpool to come first, actually. Yeah, they got Areola in, who's a brilliant manager. I love that sort of at the Kop. They'll be enjoying the more heavy metal type football that Klopp did, where he's more high presses, getting at players, lots of running around, really positive attacking football, plenty of goals. So it'll be an exciting season. I think it'll take a while to get going. They've got a few good signings coming in, 1 or 2 they're still looking at. Jeremy Jacquet is coming as a French under-21 defender. Hasn't proven loads yet, but apparently quite highly rated. Spent a lot of money on him. They've got Baracco maybe coming in from PSG. But yeah, I think it'll take a little bit of time to get going. I think you could almost look at a bet of some kind. Maybe if you liked them more than I did, top 4, and they had a slow start, you could see the potential for them doing better as the second half of the season. Then maybe that would be one for you if you liked Liverpool a bit more than I do for position. But yeah, 5th, Liverpool. 4th, Manchester United. I predicted United would come 7th last year and they came 3rd. So I don't always get too biased on them. But I feel like I don't know if I am or not on this. I think you can go 2 ways with United this year, because they've got Champions League games to worry about, and they had such a few games last year they could really focus. To come 3rd was more about, well, partly because obviously they really played well under Carrick and got them doing all the right things, but quite a big part was they didn't have many games. They had all week to get ready for each match, which that's why I like Brentford from earlier. Tielemans is coming from Aston Villa. He has been a really, really good player for Leicester and Villa. He's he's one of the first team players on the team sheet. He's instantly gone in at United and looked good in the friendlies. I think we're a bit Casemiro-like in some ways. Maybe not quite the heading. I think Casemiro will miss him this year for that, and 1 or 2 other things. Doesn't get sent off like Casemiro does, so that would be a benefit. And then we've got Santos from Chelsea, who, speaking to Chelsea fans, they weren't sure he was of a high level, but he started better than what the comments I was getting from them. And we'll see how he progresses. He's more a defensive midfielder who can spray passes as well. Probably a bit more like in the Carrick mould. I wonder if Carrick was quite behind that move, because it reminds me a little bit like how he used to position himself and play in the early phases. And then you've got now got Balebo coming from Brighton, who, apart from last year, who maybe they said his head was turned with thoughts of coming United in that summer. Now they got him for cheaper, and they've really stocked up the midfield, which they need to. They need to do the Champions League. They need to get left back and a striker to add to the mix. So, but I think they'll have a good season. I've popped in a few little accumulators for top 4, and a little bit of some other bits of fun just in case. But I wouldn't recommend any more than betting top 4 for Man United, and maybe just leave them alone. Actually, it's just me. I'm a Man United fan. I want it to happen. So, yes, and then we move on from there. And in third, Man City. So I could swap United for City when I start talking about them, but I'm going to stick there for now. And yeah, Pep Guardiola going is huge. I mean, I remember when I was at United watching them and saying to other fans when the ground, saying that when Ferguson was about to leave, or if you felt he's coming to last year, just make the most of every time we come and watch them now, because it won't be like this anymore. And it'll be a bit of that at City. They've got rid of the fact they've got rid of Silva and Rodri. That adds to it. Rodri was usually, he sort of, when he plays they win, and when he doesn't play they might not win, kind of thing. So that's already a big thing. You've got Haaland, who's had a hard. He's first played in the summer last year in the World Club Championship. He's had the season. He's now played for Norway all the way to the quarterfinals, and now he's gone from there into the new season. And whether he'll have the energies like he normally does, because he's obviously the other player that really makes the difference for them. So it'd be interesting how that happens. They've got a lot of good players. You know, I really like Cherky. They've got Foden, of course, Semenyo, whoever the other player is, D, plays in the wing, plays for Belgium. Doku. That one's not hard, to be fair, is it? Yeah, and then just defensively, I'm not so sure about them. And then they lost 3-0 to Arsenal, so that made you think, and that was in the Charity Shield, of course. So, hard one. Third, I've put them, but I think they struggle compared to what you expect out of City. In second, I went for pretty much like I did last year. I think Chelsea, new manager Xabi Alonso. I think he was unbelievable by relegation, achieved some amazing things, and it really pushed Bayern Munich for supremacy at that point in the German league. Brilliant in Europe as well, European Champions League. So yeah, he's got a lot of knowledge. He comes across brilliantly, I think. I think he had an amazing career in management, and I think Chelsea's next step for them. He wasn't so good at Real Madrid for the short period he had them. Maybe at the wrong time, not really good enough players to work with potentially. Yeah, they got in Morgan Rogers. They brought in some interesting sort of more experienced players with the young team they've got, with Danny Welbeck and Jordan Henderson. Who else did they bring in? They brought Lacroix from Palace, really good centre back who played with France at the World Cup. So they got some nice signings coming in. Colwell's back, the centre back that they really missed last year, young English centre back, very good player. I think that will be a brilliant addition to them this year. He's in my dream team. And of course Palmer's going to be back with the World Cup. He didn't play. He won't have the same tiredness that some players will when he had a lot of tiredness going into the last season playing in the World Club Championships, and he wasn't the same player, and it's kind of the talisman. He really likes Morgan Rogers, they're friends. That'll really be a good little duo. Carlton Palmer, not Carlton Palmer, it's a completely different player. Cole Palmer, we'll talk about in a minute as maybe a top goal scorer. So I think they'll do really well. I was 10th last year, but I don't think it really mattered because he had such a weird manager choice at the end of the year that really put them downhill, made them go downhill. So second for Chelsea, strong fancy. The top 4 best bet, 5 to 6, and top 2 is 7 to 2, so it might be even also worth more of a nicer priced accumulator, and a bigger accumulator, more confident one with Chelsea at 5 to 6 for top 4. And then here we go, champions again. Elect Arsenal. Now I went for Liverpool last year, and won the year before, so I'm a bit nervous about calling out Arsenal here. But the one's really settled team. You know all about them. They've got the best squad. I probably think where their weaknesses is up front somewhat. I don't really think they're wide players and they're forward players. I think Man United are better in those positions. I think definitely City are, and definitely Chelsea are. But they're so good defensively. Saliba's out, so that throws it a bit. But then they brought Konza in, so I think that kind of evens it out a little bit. Although he's still got to get used to playing in that back four. So they might start a little bit slow. You might get value out of them from starting slow. They haven't been that good in friendlies bar the Charity Shield. They've got some of the good players with Rice. They brought in Gamari's, of course. It was a hell of a signing from Newcastle's captain. So, yeah, I mean, strong. I would say they're definitely a good bet. They were 13 to 8 and now been backed in. Everybody's been saying Arsenal. I don't think I've heard any much different to Arsenal. And now 5 to 4. Again, another one for the accumulators. And then we've reached the end of the 20 through to 1. I hope you enjoyed that bit. And now we're going to go on to just a quick rundown of other bets that we can look at. I thought where United might do well this year is winning a domestic cup. I'm particularly kind of honed in my thoughts on the FA Cup. So I may be doing something as the leagues go on a bit and we know a bit more what was going on. Things like that for a domestic cup. Brighton for the European Conference League I thought could be a really good bet. And yeah, so there's a couple of little things I put into accumulators later in the first half of the season, September, October time. So I thought that was worth throwing out there. I told you earlier about Palace, that was great bet, 6 to 1. And then we got into handicap betting. Now I had 5 teams for handicap that I was sort of trying to choose between. I got it down to, it was Coventry, plus 44 points. It was Brentford, plus 29 points. Chelsea, plus 10. United, plus 8. And Arsenal on scratch, no points advantage. I took it then down to Arsenal, Brentford, Chelsea. In the end, with a little something on Arsenal in one of the bets, I then focused mostly then on Chelsea and Brentford as the two. Get yourself on those two. And then the last thing I want to talk about is potential for top goal scorers. So I think there's 3 really good ones for prices here. What I mentioned about Haaland earlier, I feel like he might have a sluggish season, sluggish start. If he does, and anyway, I don't like his price, 4 to 6. I mean, I'm not someone that would lump on a 4 to 6 shot personally. I like to have a bit more value each way on the other things. So I will go for Thiago at Brentford, with the potential that he could move club to one of the bigger clubs in the Premier League. There's a little bit of rumours Man United might be that team. So then you've really got a great 12 to 1 shot. Scored. What did he score last year? I think he was in around 20 last year. In second place in the top goal scorer behind Haaland. So each way you get some good value there already. Then I'm thinking Palmer, I mentioned earlier. Fresh, ready to go, takes penalties to Chelsea. They've only got to worry about the Premier League, and he's 40 to 1. I'm like, that is massive. I think last year he started at 20 to 1. The only thing changed this year is that he's just going to be more ready, and he's got more focus and more time to play these games, and he'll probably be playing most of the minutes. Old player, Mbemo, now at United. Sesko, United's only real forward, strict striker, is injured at the moment, and Mbembo's going to start. Mbembo's always scoring goals anyway. He's going to be wide, coming attacking from those positions and scoring goals, or he's actually going to be playing up front like he will at the start. He's second in line for penalties, so Fernandes has missed a few in pre-season apparently, and maybe even Mbemo will take them. He took a couple and scored them in pre-season. So yes, that could be huge value each way. Always a quarter. The odds places 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, done a lot of talking. Take a deep breath, and yes, that is it. 4 divisions done. I say that's it. Got one last little thing for you. 3 teams I think will do well in the National League. Last year I said York and Rochdale, and it never got any videos. And it's nice to be able to throw out a few winners for you guys. So I'm going to go for Boreham Wood as a top 3 bet. I think it was 11 to 4, and then win the league bet. I think it's about 6 to 1. And I really like Hartlepool as a secondary bet. So if you want to do, because you can always do perm bets and things, you can have them and Boreham Wood. And then in a top 7 bet, I think it still is 7 to 2 or 4 to 1 for Sutton to be in top 7. Local team for me as well. Yeah, so there you are. Little extra bonus at the end. And so, looking forward to it. Here we go. Starts tomorrow. Get yourselves ready. have a few bets for a bit of fun, and I'd like to hear what you've got to say about what you think of my selections, what you've done yourself. But have a great season, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Good luck, gamble responsibly, see you again soon.